This is the Vision 79 podcast, where my friend Sander and myself, Mason, discuss recent developments in our business and our personal growth. The name Vision 79 comes from our respective racing numbers. Sander's is 40, mine is 39, and we have a shared vision for success in business and personal life. Many successful people started small, just like us, but very few of them documented their process. We intend to be the first to document our journey from start to finish. And we are in the start right now. So early, in fact, that I don't actually have anything written down for the weekly summary.
Oh, we did it last week. There's tons to talk about, though.
We did do a lot, yeah. I was up until 4:30 doing a lot last night.
Yeah. I spent the middle of my day doing some work, and I worked with you a little bit, and then I went out to failed attempt to try and see the Northern Lights.
Yeah.
Did not see them, but stayed up until 5:15 anyway. So
we live in Florida, but Sandra was lied too.
I thought we lived in New Hampshire. I just got confused.
Yeah, last night I was working at Pahana until we left, and I was like, oh, I'll go, do some time at Kraken. So I went down there, and the girls were closing alone, and so I was like, okay, I'll hang out. And I'm glad because there was
Serena
and Grace, yeah. And I'm glad I did because the DJ went all the way until 2 a.m. Like the lights were on and they were still playing music. And so the girls.
Face doesn't do that,
dude. No, it doesn't. And the girls were trying to close. And there were some fucking creepy dudes like still sitting there, not leaving. Yeah. And so Grace came over to me because she was wiping the bar down, and I said loudly, I'm sitting on my laptop with my earbuds in because I'm working Excel through the entire event.
Right.
And
I mean, that's the way to enjoy any rave.
Yeah. I am still paying attention to the people around me because I try and be like omnipresent, but I can tell that other people are like, oh, he's just working on his laptop. He's got his earbuds in, he doesn't know. And I said really loudly to Grace, I was like, why the fuck are people still in here? The lights are on and you've asked them to cash out. Shouldn't they be leaving? And the dude sitting down the line, he got like hand tattoos and something and like a shaved head and like
a little teardrop.
Tough looking dude. He was not a good looking character, and he didn't have a drink in front of him. And I saw that he didn't have a drink in front of him the entire night. And so Grace was like, yeah, I don't know, like the lights are on or whatever. And I saw him kind of look over at me when I said that, like out of the corner of my eye. And a minute later, he got up and like wandered over to the front like register area and started like shifting through the business cards. And then he ended up leaving. Like he didn't even pay because he had paid earlier in the night. Apparently, he only got like one shell like 2 hours earlier and was just waiting. And I was like, dude, fucking the bar closed 25 minutes ago. It's just two girls closing on their own. Like. Yeah. That's fucking creepy. Get the fuck out of here.
You gotta leave.
Yeah. And so Grace is closing on her own tonight, so I'll be there until closing again today. But I ended up working, and then they took forever to close. So I worked until like 3:30, no kidding, and then got home and got to sleep at 4:30.
One of my peeves though with the closing is that there are times where I've been at Pahana and like closing will start at like 1:15 or 1:30. And that's kind of a peeve because it's like there's like 30, 45 minutes left in your shift. And like, I'll leave at 15 minutes before your shift. But like to kick me out like a half hour before or, 15 minutes before is like a little bit rude, especially when I'm a regular and I'm not a creep.
What I really love about the way that Chase and Grace love working together. What I really love about the way they work is they'll start closing at like 1. But they do the little like behind the scenes things that people don't see. You still get your drinks, like you still
I've been kicked out lights on at like 1:30.
Wow. Yeah, I've never had that.
Lights on, get out, we're closing up at 1:30.
Wow. Yeah. In my experience, I mean, I've only closed the bars a couple of times. Like I've only been there for closing. Usually it's like at 2 they turn the lights on and ask people to leave. And usually it's like just cool dudes who are like playing D&D or cards or something, and they're hanging out and lights come on. And they're like, oh, I didn't even know, and they leave. But like during the raves, fucking weird people come out, and I did not like the vibe last night. So at midnight, I told Grace, I was like, if you guys are staying here until close, like I'll hang out with you. You don't have to ask. It was weird, but we got a lot done this week.
A lot of Excel work. The business stuff.
Yep. We're trying to figure out ways to, as we learn how the starting a business process works, we're documenting it in a way where our decisions are mathematically based. Decisions are made at the point of most knowledge. And so if you're making a decision, you want to be as knowledgeable as possible about it. So for example, recently we've been picking a location. Where are we going to do what we're going to do? And you can guesstimate, you can go off vibes, but that isn't really systematical. And so we made a document where you input all of your different options and all of the different attributes for those options, and the math will tell you where the best spot to put it is. And that's so fucking useful because we can then take that system and apply it to future businesses or other people's businesses. We can sell this, or we can consult people and say, here's our algorithm that you don't have. And we put in all these options and we think you shouldn't.
And here's why it's worth it, because we used it for X.
Yep. And it's worked.
Place, and it's worked in this way.
Yep.
Benefited in this way.
Yep. I sure hope. That's another thing that I wanted to talk about today is I see a lot of shit about people saying like, oh, you shouldn't give advice unless you have success or experience in a field and can give advice about it. And we have no experience in the field. Really.
Yeah,
so like we have some, but I would argue that we don't have enough to really give advice to people. So the clarification that I want to make is that we don't make these podcasts to give advice to you. We make these podcasts to document where we're at so that we can come back later and watch this and think, where was I when I first started off? Like, what missteps did I take? What was I thinking? Where was I at? This is a documentation, not an advice channel.
I think, though, there is value to be gained from these podcasts. Like, I think at the very least, I think that the quotes and concepts that we bring from people who have, become successful and gotten far in life can be valuable to other people. And I think that those references and those connections can lead people into this podcast as well as those other podcasts that are very valuable. Right. We name drop a lot of great podcasts on this channel that I think people would benefit from listening to in addition to ours.
Yeah. I don't mean to say that there's no value in our podcast. What I mean to say is, this isn't a direct call to action in telling you instructionally what to do.
Right.
It's not, you should wake up at 6:45 and go for a 15-minute run and brush your teeth with avocado oil and whatever. Like, we're not giving you direct advice or direction. We're just talking about our experiences. And if you can glean motivation or, a piece of useful information from this, that's awesome. But this isn't intended as a call to action.
Right. I agree with that and hear that.
It's just a broad sweeping clarification that I want to make, and we'll probably be making repeatedly, because people always think that you're trying to give them advice.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not what this is.
Yeah. No, I agree. I hear you.
Mm.
On that note,
reminder, we aren't doing the TikToks with this, so we can go so long. We can go 2 hours, 3 hours.
We don't
have to go that long, but I'm just letting you know we don't have to rush or anything. But
yeah,
what you got?
Yeah. My first one up is Alex Hormozi talks a lot about how preparation is the key to success.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wanted to ask you about one time you felt that you were ill-prepared going into a presentation or a test or a meeting, and what did that experience teach you?
Interestingly, I, up until recently, have had the polar opposite opinion, which is just raw dog it. Just go.
Yeah.
So one of my coworkers in February had to give a big presentation. He's a level 1, just like me. He had to give a big presentation to a lot of important people. And he was a subsect. It was like a full day presentation, but he had like an hour and a half of it to stand up and talk. And in one of our like private meetings, there was like me and 2 other senior engineers and him. He was like, guys, how do I prepare for this? And some of the older guys were like, say it in a mirror to yourself. And he looked at me because he was like, hey, you seem to be super calm. I'm not presenting, but still, like, what do you do? And I was like, dude, I raw dog it. He was like, what? And I was like, don't prepare at all. Just go up and figure it out. He was like, I don't know how you can do that. Like, what are you talking about? Because in high school, my friends and I had introverted friends who didn't want to like go up and present. Mm-hmm. And so I would go up and present for them cold. I had not seen the presentation yet. And I would go up and I would click the slide, look at it for under a second and start talking about it and like bullshit my way through it. And sometimes it was funny and everyone could tell I was bullshitting and we all had a laugh. And other times people genuinely bought it and would ask questions afterwards that I would make up answers to. Like, That's how I honed the bullshitting knife. And I held that opinion up until February, which is like, just figure it out, right?
Yeah.
But I started listening to the Hormozi stuff and about how, 5 minutes of preparation for a 1 hour meeting can like totally change.
Yeah. It's better to be late to the meeting than to start it on time and prepare.
Exactly. And I started listening to that and I thought, oh, okay, well, in the direct-to-camera stuff we do for the TikToks, I'm always better the second time that I do it, even though I'm winging it most of the time, right? I wonder if there's actual credence to that and if I should prepare. So intentionally, now I'm trying to pre-prepare myself for these meetings by going through my contacts list. I'm going through my contacts list and I'm making sure that every contact in my phone has a first name, a last name, where I met them, basic notes about them, and our last conversation topics. Because the next time I go to talk to that person, I want to really quickly excuse myself to the restroom or something, scroll through, look at all the data that I have on them, what we talked about last, and then come back into the conversation, as a friend, because there's a lot of people, you can't keep up with everything, right? Even people you haven't seen in 10 years, but they might remember you. And if that's the case, I want it to be a positive reaction.
Right.
So that's something that I'm doing to shift my perspective, because I think now that there's a lot of value in preparation that I maybe didn't appreciate before because I wasn't doing important enough research.
Yeah, I think there's more to be had from preparation than there is to be had from not preparing.
Absolutely. Yeah. And there's a lot of skill, and I'm not ragging on bullshitting your way through it, because there's a lot of attributes in thinking fast and thinking on the fly and flying by the seat of your pants.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of pros to that. So I'm glad that I did that in high school, because it got me, to be quick on my feet. But now that I'm going into more important presentations that I can prepare for in the future, I think it's probably best to prepare.
Yeah, I hear that.
And we did that with our presentation a couple months ago. We made a really nice PowerPoint slideshow.
Yeah, I was thinking about that actual presentation when I wrote this question.
Yeah. Apart from building the PowerPoint, we sat for like 2 hours beforehand and went into the meeting room and put it up on the thing and like ran through it and whatever.
Yep.
Like, we prepared.
And it was well worth it.
Yeah, for sure.
It went super smooth. It went really well.
Yeah.
I think that in high school, I was able to kind of like finesse through a lot of my presentations.
Yeah.
And not really care. And then in college, for whatever reason, I mean, I guess there could be a number of reasons, but I started to try and care more and like get more out of my education experience. And I think that's in part because now it was like actual money on the table. Like these classes cost money, And I prepared more, and I started to see the value in preparing, not from my understanding perspective, but from the perspective of I was able to communicate my ideas more effectively with everyone else, because my sentences were more laid out. I was smoother in my transitions. I was able to go through the slides without looking at them and reading them. I could actually talk to the audience and stuff like that. And I felt as though it was more engaging. So I started to see the real value in preparation there from a public speaking perspective. And Alex Hermosi's, discussion about this topic and how he approaches it, I think really resonates with me, because it's like he really prepares a lot. And he prepares so much, it almost makes it seem like he's not a very talented public speaker, but he's just prepares so well and practices so much that he's able to really hone in and make it happen, right? Like, actually, he talked about a different topic, but a similar idea in one of his podcasts. He said they used to say that he was really bad at math. He'd tell everyone, oh, I suck at math. I'm not good at math. And then one day he was just like, I just don't want to suck at math anymore. And he just started practicing. And he like threw away his calculator and he started doing math by hand and figuring stuff out.
That's my entire freshman year in college.
But it's like, he stopped saying that he was bad at math, or, I stopped saying I was bad at presenting.
Right.
I just started practicing and making it work. And he started practicing and making it work. So I really resonate with that idea.
Outwork your self-doubt.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
One of his mantras that I really like in terms of preparing for a conversation with somebody, even if it's a small, like one-on-one discussion, is he always wants, in any interaction he has, he wants to give more value to the person that he's talking to than he receives from that person.
Yeah.
He always wants to be the person to give more. And people like givers. People want to work with givers.
Yeah.
So if you're able to help somebody or provide more value, even if you're going to them for advice, if you can leave and have that person go, wow, he was really prepared. He had a lot ready for me and I got a lot of value from that. That's an exceptional thing that not many people can do. And that is what triggered me to start to see value in preparing, because then I started thinking, well, if I'm winging it on the fly, that indicates that I don't really care about the people I'm presenting to, because I didn't give a shit enough to prepare. And that's not respectful. And it doesn't really give them much value. So if I prepare, then I can give them more value and show them that I actually do care about them. And I mean, that's better for both myself and for the person I'm presenting to.
Yeah. Yeah. It presents it, pun intended, presents a lot more value to
it does.
You're talking to.
It does. I have actual gravel in my eye.
From what?
It's like sleep. It's like sleep in my eye. Why do they call it sleep in my eye? It's not actually sleep. It's just like fucking eye boogers. Do they call them that?
I've never heard that.
Eye boogers?
No, I've heard eye boogers.
You've never heard it sleep? I've always felt like, oh, I've got sleep in my eye.
I've never heard that. That's fine.
I don't know. Okay.
What you got for me?
Finish up?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. I've got several today, and some are awesome. One of them's a fucking heavy one that I'll bring up at the end.
Cool. I have 3 more, kind of 4 more, I guess. The last one's long.
I got a bunch. Who cares? A quick one that I like is a Chris Williamson one. I have this website where I was going through Hormozy quotes, and then I went through Hormozy's X page, and I ran out of all of those. So now I'm going through Chris Williamson's X page because he does the same thing with notes to self.
What I do is I scroll through the Hormozy podcast and I look at the titles, and he has quotes in the description.
Got it.
Of the Spotify podcast.
Yeah.
So I'll scroll until I resonate with one. And then if I like the topic, but I don't resonate with the top quote, I'll like bump through the podcast and I'll listen because I've listened to them before. So I kind of know where shit's at, and then I'll find something to pull. Yeah.
I pull them while I'm listening. I always listen in the gym. I find I'm so much more motivated to go to the gym if I'm also listening to the Hormozy podcasts or whatever, because then I get a workout and value. That's awesome.
Yep.
So I was going through the Williamson X page, and one of them is, most people aren't introverts. Their friends just suck. And I thought that was really cool because I liked to make friends with introverts in high school and like pull them out of their shell and like become more social. And then, you know, we don't talk anymore, but they have their own social group and whatever people that actually they connect with. And that was an interesting thought because people by nature are not isolative, right? People by nature are social beings. So, you know, if you feel like you're alone or you feel like people don't like you, you're probably just hanging out with the wrong people. And it's tough to find people.
No, it is.
But I have a fucking awesome business idea about that. I think I've already shared it with you, but I fleshed it out a little bit more this weekend with Grace, and I'll tell you later. The first actual quote that I have from Hormozy, I pulled from the middle of a podcast. The hardest single jump in all of entrepreneurship is going from the safety of a job to being 100% eating what you kill.
Damn, that's cool.
That's so
I love that.
Fucking cool. And I told Grace that because I heard it in the shower, and I literally said, Grace, and she came in because she thought I hurt myself or something, and I was like, listen to this, and I played it, and she was like, what the fuck? Like, why are you doing this? And I was like, isn't that so cool? And she was like, that's a dude quote. And I was like, because you're in this with me, man. Like, you're also going into entrepreneurship. Every house that you sell, she's going into real estate. Every house that you sell is like what you kill. Like, you got to eat that. If you don't sell houses, you don't eat.
Right.
And she was like, yeah, I guess it's, you know, just less motivational for me because X, Y, and Z reason, right? Like, men like to kill things. And I was like, I don't hunt. Like, I don't really like to kill things. I like the idea that if you don't work, then you don't live. Like, you have to work to live. I don't give myself the option not to. Like, I have to. And I thought that was fucking sick.
That's a cool one. That's good. It's true, though. I mean, when we make the leap, like, it'll be all hands on deck because that's the only way we're getting out of it. Yeah. Realistically. Yeah. You know, outside of going back to square zero and getting another 9 to 5. Which is not something that we're going to do.
That is like I'm starting to go into
I will sell all of my belongings before I get to that point.
Yeah.
I'll get rid of everything besides like my car and the physical location that I live.
Yeah. That would have to be like I'm going into severe credit card debt. The business is closing. Like everything is on fire.
I'm getting sued.
Everything is on fire and nothing is fine. Like that's the last ditch effort. But yeah, apart from that, like I'll live on pennies.
Right.
So that's my first real quote.
That's a good one. I like that. In part of making that entrepreneurship jump from a 9 to 5 to becoming an entrepreneur, and as you grow as an entrepreneur, you have to give up control of certain things because you can't do everything on your own. At a certain point, you have to delegate, you know, the social media to someone else, or the accounting to someone else, or the sales to someone else. So what's one thing that you've had to give up in your journey so far, if you'd had something you had to give up? And what are you holding on to today that you think will be hard to let go of in the future?
I don't think I'm holding on to, or I don't think I've let go of very much yet. I still have my job. I still have my income.
This is more like
business oriented.
Business control.
Yeah. I mean, apart from equity, which I'm totally fine giving up for the instance that we have, I don't think we've given up really much with the business either. I'm really working to try to identify, you know, when we start, everything is in the palm of our hands, right? Yeah. On opening day, it's all us. Unless we decide to change that by hiring a manager or outsourcing XYZ or hiring an accountant, right? And what I'm kind of working on in the back of my head now, and I texted you about this last night, is what attributes of that do we want to hire help for? And what attributes do we want to hang on to, right? So for example, the accounting, you've seen our Excel sheets. We're very good at them, especially in comparison to other people in a similar field, right? We're fucking on top of it. And so I don't think that we'll really need an accountant, right? Maybe a financial advisor or something down the road, but probably not until we get close to the end of our first year and we can say, hey, here's all our paperwork, double check our taxes and, it'll be okay. But something that I'm thinking about is social media takes up a lot of time and attention, right? I can only probably be hands-on with that for maybe a month or two before I start to get burned out, and I need somebody who's actually passionate about it, right?
Right.
Day-to-day operations of the business, again, like I'm totally cool doing it for like the first couple months, but eventually we're going to have to work on the business, right? We can't do that if we're working in the business. So I'm trying to identify those attributes right now. And I think one of the things that I don't want to give up right away is the money. Like the accounting, right?
Yeah.
Not the actual money. I don't fucking care.
Because that's a direct resource for us to figure out how to grow it better and to expand it and to make more money.
I think, exactly.
Right. If someone else is doing the analysis, then it's just going to be a game of, okay, I want this done, and then they go do that, and then you're like, well, that's not quite how I wanted it, and blah 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 blah, and it's a back and forth, right?
Yep.
So,
yeah, I agree. So I think that I want to hang on to items like accounting, and I would be happy to relinquish control to the right person in terms of day-to-day management, employee scheduling, things of that nature, right?
Yeah. 100%.
To allow us to instead work on the business, on the branding, social media, to instead allow us to work on things like on the business.
Yeah, I think I've actually, there is one thing that I've had to give up even so far in our journey, and that
your virginity?
No, I gave that up before this journey.
Yeah, my mom's told me.
I very much like to be the head person that has oversight over the entire project.
Mm-hmm.
But when we're working together as a team and we're both working, an extra 40 hours a week or whatever it is to build stuff.
No, because Northrop says you can't have a second job that takes more than 35 hours a week.
Oh, got it.
So a second job,
9 hours.
34 hours a week.
Got it. 34 hours. So, as I like to be at the center of control for that and have oversight over everything, because I think I have a good eye for detail and a good eye for seeing where things could go wrong or seeing where we can improve things and stuff like that. And when we're working as a team, neither of us have the bandwidth to look over the other's entire work all the time as they're doing it and pick out every single thing. So it's early on, I had to be okay, when we were just starting this thing, I was I'm just going to trust Mason with this topic and he's going to go through with it. And I'll just briefly look it over when he's done. And if it's good, it's good. And if there's a couple things wrong, then we'll address those things.
Yep.
But it's I can't have full control over that topic and over that. So that's one thing that I kind of had to give up. And now it's easy for me. It just took a second to kind of make that change, because I've had a lot of really bad experiences where someone else was leading the group or the team or the school project or whatever, and it just went haywire because they didn't know what they were doing.
Right.
For
clarity, we don't know what we're doing either, but we work well together.
Yeah, we work well. I think one thing that'll be tough for me to give up on is the financial analysis side of things. I think will be a little bit tough because I see it as a vehicle for how we can improve the business. And I see us as the people who should be improving the business, at least initially. And so I think it'll be tough to give up that analysis to a single person or a group of people that will then come to us and be okay, you're losing money here and here and here, and this is why we think that, right? I think that'll be tough because then we're going to have to take their information for what it is and then be okay, well, we can make this change and this change to address this issue. But at the end of the day, you have to trust that they analyze the issue correctly. Right. And so I think that'll be tough. And I'm sure that there will be a lot of back and forth, and I'm sure we'll be involved at certain stages along the way where, they'll, whatever accountant person or managerial person will bring us an issue and we'll be well, we don't think that's the issue because of X, Y, and Z, and we'll do our own analysis and maybe we're right or wrong. Right. But I think it'll be tough to give that up initially.
Yeah.
Because, that person being, one of the only resources you have at that point to get information about the business, you really have to trust that person.
Right.
Because if they're giving you information that's ill thought through, or that's incorrect, or that wasn't analyzed, correctly, then you have a problem, because you could steer the business in the wrong direction.
Right. And I don't think we're going to have to give that up for a while.
No, I don't think so either.
Honestly, we could probably open up 2 more businesses and still handle everything.
Yeah.
Maybe not 2. Once we get to 3, it might be best to like hire somebody and say, hey, just kind of look over everything. I don't have time for this. I'm working on a new business or whatever. Right.
Well, it's tough to find good people too. Like,
right.
Paul Hanna and Kraken are really lucky to have a great manager, but it's tough to find someone like that.
Yep. Although I think I found one, and I texted you last night about it.
Yeah.
And I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
Or the prospect of that. But there's a great underlying tone here for people who are getting into business. You've asked me in 2 separate podcasts now, what do you look for in a business partner, right? And this is a great working example of how important trust between partners are.
Yeah.
Because if you're working with somebody new, right, there are 2 ways to gauge trust. And I'll give you the example with my mother and my father. With my father, when you start speaking to him and you build a relationship with him, you have his trust until you break it. And then you'd lose his trust. Right. With my mother, you never have her trust. You have to work to earn her trust, and then you have it. So there's 2 different directions to go from here. What kind of person are you? Do you automatically give trust and then have it broken? Or do you, retain your trust and then hand it out as people earn it? Right. I find myself to be more so on the second end, right? When I start working with someone, I'll look over their work. I'll double check everything. I'll do it all myself until eventually you get to the point where you and I are at now, where you can trust the other person's work, right?
Right.
I feel like a very big pitfall that people often would make in business is trusting somebody who they shouldn't, taking advice from somebody who they shouldn't be, working with somebody who they shouldn't be, not double checking work that they should have double checked. And if you constantly find yourself having to go through and fix everything that your partner's doing, you should not be working with that partner, because that's not efficient. Like, how are you going to trust them to run the business when it's actually fully operational if you have to go through and double check everything? So trust in a business partner is huge.
Yeah, completely agree. And as you go through that process of working with your business partner that you trust, you have to go through challenges that other people don't face, and you have to conquer things that someone else might have not done before. And, obviously just because it hasn't been done before doesn't mean it's impossible. But Alex Hormozi talks about, if you want things that everyone else doesn't have, you have to act in ways that everyone else doesn't act in. Right. And so what are some of the ways that you act differently from others? And how does that lead you to the things that you want that others don't have?
First and foremost is I want to quit my job. It's a business, right? A lot of people don't want to do that. I think of that, I'll get a lot of backlash when I eventually quit. Retire from the 9 to 5, right? Because people are going to look at me like I'm fucking insane. Very frequently, I get people at work astounded at my bluntness, right? One time, several months ago, this was in January, we had this big presentation due on like Friday, right? And on Wednesday, it was only 30 slides long. And my partner and I were like, dude, this should be way longer. And so we called the team lead and we were like, hey, what's the deal? Like, we haven't seen any updates on this. And he goes, oh, we're actually working on a different folder. Here's the link. And we opened it and it's 400 slides long. And we were like, oh my God. Okay. So we put all our slides in and integrate it and make our section look nice. And then the task manager goes, hey, we need you guys to go through and pick out all of the documents that we reference in the PowerPoint and then make like a works cited sheet at the end. And I was like, no, like that sounds like not my fucking problem. That sounds like you should have done it as you were making the slides.
Right.
And so my coworker was like, no, like we have to do it. Like, this is our job. Like, we got to do it. And I was like, this is stupid. Like, they should have done it. Like, they pay the price, right? I didn't pay this price. They did. Our work is cited. And he said, no, we just have to do it. It's our job. And I said, fine. When does this task lead want it done by? And he said, end of the day. And I was like, today? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, no. And he was like, but the document's due tomorrow. Like, we don't have a choice. And I was like, we have a choice. He doesn't have a choice. So I left my coworker there and I said, I'm going to go call him. And he said, do not do that. Please, come on, don't do it. And so I went to my desk and I called the task lead and I called him and I said, hey man, like, I just want to make sure that I understand the instructions. So we talked it through. I'm like, you want me to do the works cited? He was like, yeah. I said, okay, for the record, you should have done this as you built your PowerPoint. And I want you to know that. And he was like, okay, I don't think it's a big deal for you guys to have to do it. And I said, it is a big deal because I don't.
He knows it's a big deal too because he pushed it off on you guys.
Exactly. I said, it is a big deal because now you're taking a lot of my time and putting a lot of stress on me at the very end of the deadline. But you made a mistake because I don't care about the deadline. When do you want this done by? And he said, well, I think that if you guys really put your nose to the grindstone, you can get it done by the end of the day. And I said, I'm glad that you think that. I have other stuff to do. It'll be done in 3 days. And I hung up the phone. And my coworker then called me from his cubicle like 5 minutes later. He's like, hey, Ed. And I was like, what? So I came over there and he was like, dude, I just got off the phone with the task lead. And I was like, oh, yeah. And he was like, yeah. He called me and he said, hey, like, I just got off the phone with that Mason guy. And I guess that you guys think you can get it done in 3 days. And I guess that's okay. And I was like, and so my coworker was like, oh, yeah, I think we can do 3 days. I think that's manageable if we work hard. And the task lead was like, yeah, by the way, who the fuck is that guy? Like, is he your boss or something? And he goes, no, he's a level 1 engineer. He goes, that guy's a level 1? And he was like, yeah. And he was like, I don't think he can be talking to me that way. And my coworker was like, I don't think you can control how he talks to you. And we got it done in 3 days when I said I would. We actually got it done a half a day early and submitted it. And he was appreciative of that. But like, I'm so fucking blunt. Like, I'll call people on their shit and I'll call myself on my shit too. Like when I have shortcomings, I'll say like, if I fucked this up and we have to change it this way or that way. But I think that the semantics of the office space are fucking such a waste of time. People so frequently will dance around the topic or try to be polite or try to be politically correct or try and like, they don't directly address it, right? So like on the phone, I was like, dude, I don't have the time. It's not getting done in time. It'll be done in 2 days. And he was like, well, I think if you guys and if you format it this way, and I was like, stop thinking, like just tell me, like fucking commit to something. And I think that goes against the grain of a lot of people. And I think that saves me a lot of time and it builds a lot of my self-confidence and my self-respect because I respect somebody who's direct. And I feel that I respect people who are not direct far less.
Yeah. Yeah. Understandable. I think that that's a pretty sophisticated answer to my question.
Okay.
Like I appreciate it and I like there's a lot of depth to it. My answer was much more basic in the sense that I think we just work harder, work longer, and do more than the general populace does.
Dude, 100%.
Right? And with those 3 things, you can accomplish more than the general populace.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I think those are the main big things that differentiate us from the crowd.
Yep.
And that help us build businesses at 23 that other people might not even have at 33 or 43 or in their entire life at all.
Yep. There are 4 categories of people, right? It is Sunday. It is 2:57 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Your coworkers who don't want to go into business and want to stay at their 9 to 5, what are they doing right now?
Probably recovering from a hangover.
They're watching TV. They're chilling out, right?
Yeah.
Then there's the people who want to start a business but haven't actually initiated on it yet and they're still in their 9 to 5, but they want something more. What are they doing right now?
Probably not working.
Probably the same fucking shit.
Yeah.
Then there are the people who have a business who work non-fucking stop. What are they doing right now?
Potentially working.
They are, if they have a business and they're working on it, they're probably working right now, right?
Yeah.
And then there's us, people who don't have a business and still have a 9 to 5, but want it so badly that we're working both at the same time anyways.
Right.
And sometimes that means working harder than people who currently have the business, right? So we know one guy right now who makes a lot of money, but he's comfortable and he doesn't have to push as hard to get what he needs because he's comfortable where he is and he doesn't worry for money. So like, what's the point in pushing harder, right?
Yeah.
He's probably relaxing right now, right? Maybe he's doing some light work because he owns a business. So he doesn't have to work as hard and he doesn't really want to grow, right? Not working hard. People who have a 9 to 5 and don't want a business, not working hard. People who have a 9 to 5 and want a business, they're an entrepreneur. They're not actually executing on it. They're not really working, right? The initial energy catalyst to get from 9 to 5 to business is so great that that gap is so large, people don't have the energy to jump it. So when you're on this side of the cliff, it's easier to get out a lawn chair and watch people try and laugh at them when they fall. And when you fall, you've got to climb all the way back up to the ledge and try and run and jump again. Once you make it across, it's just as easy to set down a lawn chair there and look at the beautiful mountains, right? Yeah. But there are a few people and I hope this is us, after you make the jump, you pass those people in the lawn chairs and you continue to climb the mountain.
Right.
And that is, I think, as hard as it is to work to get out of the 9 to 5 to get into business, because it is hard. You have to work 2 jobs at the same time, and fucking it sucks.
Yeah.
I think it's just as hard to not worry for money and then still work that fucking hard to climb the mountain and do something great.
Yeah, I hear that. And I would agree.
I don't even remember what the question was. I just got amped up.
That's good though.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear one of what you have.
Okay. Oh, this one will be quick. It reflects back on the preparedness one. You are not nervous. This is Alex Ramosi. You are not nervous. You are underprepared. It's not that you have anxiety. It's that you did not do the work that you know you should have done.
Yep. I heard that one this week.
Dude, I practiced this earlier this week. Like, I forget what it was at work. It was something like, I got an email and I was like, fuck, I don't want to read it because I know someone's going to ask me to do shit. I'll eat my lunch and then I'm not going to worry about it. And so I opened my lunch up and then I was like, nope, fuck it. I don't like the way this feels. I closed my lunch and then I read the email and then I responded and I sent the response and I felt so much better. It was one fucking email. And then I was able to eat my lunch in peace. But I knew that if I didn't do that, I would be thinking about it while I ate my lunch and I wouldn't have the bandwidth to think about what I wanted to think about while I ate. And I watch Ramosi YouTube videos while I eat. So my lunchtime is important to me. Right. It's the only time I can work when I'm at work.
Yeah.
So that was a quick one. This one's fucking awesome. Another Ramosi quote. To impress poor people, you outspend them. To impress wealthy people, you outwork them. That's the difference.
Yeah, I listened to that podcast this week too, and he talked about how a lot of young people try to impress him by spending money on like lavish things. And he's like, I would be way more impressed by them not doing that and then just showing me that they're capable by working harder and not blowing all this money on expensive shit.
Yep. There's one person we know who has advised us, hey, he's a successful guy. When you get into business, don't drive flashy cars. Don't buy fancy clothes. Don't flaunt it. That's not humble. And we're like, dude, do you know us? Like, that is not really us. And he's like, yeah, but I know you guys like your cars and whatever. So just like try and keep it low key. And, that's a great point, and I respect that. But the only reason we're having this conversation is because he respects our work ethic.
Right.
Not the way that we spend.
Yeah, 100% agree. Yeah, I do love that quote. A lot of the Alex Ramosi podcasts I listened to this week were really valuable. I really enjoyed them. I'm just scrolling down and listening to them. For those of you listening, The Game with Alex Ramosi is the podcast that we're talking about. It's very good, and you should check it out. It's on Spotify, YouTube, a bunch of platforms.
The Game, Modern Wisdom, and Vision 79 are like the only ones.
That's your trifecta right there.
Yeah, that's your business, motivational, inspirational, informational podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
Continue.
So this is my last point, and it's something a little bit different. It's a brainstorming exercise that I thought we could do. And the topic is if we were selling, let's say, Hot Wheels, what are some of the
exercise? There's 500 Hot Wheels 3 feet from us that you're selling. You just need help selling your Hot Wheels.
No, I don't. I just saw this and I was like, this is
I'm just fucking with you. Yeah.
What are some of the ways that we could change the offer on the Hot Wheels without changing the pricing in order to generate more sales? That's my first question for this. So some of the things that I thought of would be like, you could change the delivery time or delivery speed. You could change the packaging that they come in. You could add a potential discount reward when you buy multiple at a given price that will get you a discount on your next purchase. So stuff like that. You could add in freebies for a certain value of purchase. What else? What do you think?
Something really interesting that I heard from a new Hormozy piece of content last night while I was in the shower. This is 4:30 in the morning, and I opened the bedroom door and I said, "Grace," I woke her up and I told her this. And she was like, "That's great." Man. She's dead tired. Hormozy started talking about how you want to sell to rich people because they have more money, right? And the relative amount of money is far less. So you can try and sell $100 of Hot Wheels to a poor person, and $100 is a lot of money. That's 10% of their paycheck, right? So you've got to really give them a fucking lot of value. But $100 to a person that makes $1 million a week, it doesn't matter. You still get your $100, but it's not as big a deal to them, right? So sometimes it's not even about the offer, it's about who you sell to. Working example of this. You can sell a lot of items, or you can sell a cheap item to a lot of people or an expensive item to a few people.
Mm-hmm.
And those people tend to be poor people and rich people. A few rich people for a lot of money, or a lot of poor people for a little money a piece. And he used the working example of, do you know why Tesla is so successful? They started off selling to the elite Tesla Roadster, which is $250,000, right?
Yeah.
They made 10 of them, and they made a bunch of money off of only 10.
There's actually one that lives in Melbourne.
A Tesla Roadster?
Yes. When they first came out, it actually stopped at Autobahn.
Really?
Yes.
Holy shit.
One of the only ones ever produced.
That's wild.
Yeah. They pulled up in a brand new Tesla Roadster. And this was 10 years ago.
Sure.
But
still,
they're
still cool now because they made so few of them and they're so valuable, right? They started with the Roadster. What'd they come out with next?
The P100D.
What the hell is that?
That's their super fast sedan. I think that was next.
Yep.
Was it not?
Yep.
Yeah.
I think it was their S-Class.
Yeah,
Tesla Model S.
Essentially. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's the P100D.
Yep.
And it was, and they had a 90D too, but the 100D was like their flagship super fast car.
Six-figure car, right? So still selling to the elite. Then they came out with the Model X, which is still selling to the elite. And then they came out with the Model 3. And then they came out with the Model Y. And then they came out with the fucking whatever, right? Then they started working their way down. And if you've seen any Elon content in the past 6 months, all he talks about is how difficult it is to like create a mass manufacturing facility. Because it's far easier to make a few items and sell it to rich people. But the real money is in selling a cheaper item to the masses. But it's so much more difficult. So you start at your top and work your way down.
Yeah.
So for Hot Wheels, it might be better. I don't know. It might be better to start with your most premium Hot Wheels cars and sell the story that comes with them, with any documentation that you have, to a very wealthy Hot Wheels collector who, like, you know, would drool over it, right? Not in quantity, but in quality of an individual car.
Yeah.
And then from there, you can build a reputation, build a brand around yourself as the Hot Wheel guy. I had a YouTube channel reviewing Lego sets a while ago, and I had this idea of, if I can become famous on YouTube for reviewing Lego sets, then all of the Lego sets that I collect, I can then resell to my audience, who not only will want to buy it because they know that I take care of my Lego, but it's the cat feeders.
I forgot about that.
It's okay. They'll not only want to buy my Lego because they know that I keep them in good condition, but they'll also want to buy it because it's from me, who's a content creator who they like to watch. So for Hot Wheels, you could create a story around them, or, you know, find the actual story around them. And then start a Hot Wheels YouTube channel and then sell that way. It's a way easier way to reach a larger audience and whatnot. I do suppose that starting a brand costs money, so it's not really improving the value of the offer while doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, I was trying to think about it. It's a challenging question. It's hard to really like
maintenance recommendations. You could write up a document that says, you know, here are the best ways to keep your Hot Wheels in the best condition. Here are different sites where you can track the value on it. Here's the value that it has been versus the value that it could be one day.
You could also be like, you could only sell premium Hot Wheels that will appreciate, and your offer could be, hey, if this Hot Wheel doesn't appreciate within the next 12 months, you get your 100% of your money back.
Yeah.
That would be a way to change the offer, charge a little bit more, and you know it's going to appreciate because you know it's valuable. And people will draw to that because it's no risk guarantee. Right? But you know it's going to appreciate, so you know you're going to keep your money.
Exactly.
Right? That would be a way to change the offer.
Exactly. You could give them different advice on how to store it, like how to, like, it's not just selling the product, it's, hey, how do you also maintain it and keep it in high quality and high condition to ensure that it stays and appreciates in the value that you want it to.
Right.
You could give them fun facts and information about the actual car that it's based on. You could create a custom, like a larger card that you slide this card into that has all the information, like detailed information about the entire car and the history, the story on its back or something like that.
That actually ties in well to the second part of this question, which is if we had to sell the Hot Wheels for 10x what we were selling them for, let's say we were selling them for $50 instead of $5. What would we change about the offer or product to make it worthwhile to the customer? And I think a great one is the one you just said. You can make that back billboard with all the information about the real car and make a display item out of it that's a wall piece, and then the car in the center. That would be a great way that you could make it way more valuable than $5.
You really need to make it like this Hot Wheel is a one of one. No other is like it. Because right now, every Hot Wheel on the ground in front of it. I'm sorry, I'm staring at them the entire time we're talking.
Yeah,
this is so fucking round. We should overlay like an image of it if we can.
Yeah, we can do that. It's a lot.
Every Hot Wheel in there is like, correct me if I'm wrong, none of them are one of one. There's always a multiple. There's always a couple others, right? But if you could do something to enhance it to make it one of one, then that's far better, right? If you happen to stumble across a Hot Wheel that was in the pocket of Teddy Roosevelt when he was shot giving his speech and it's got his blood on it, that's cool, right? But building a larger card to go around it would be awesome. You could even build like a display stand for them at the tracks that they raced at. You could like 3D print a track that they raced at with like the winning statistics on it and stuff like that. Cool. A lot of Hot Wheels people are really car people and they care about the history. So if you can say, listen, man, this car is a special car. This car, whatever, and give them the whole spiel of it, right? In a regular Hot Wheel pack, you look at it and you go, oh, it's a yellow Lamborghini. That's cool. And you go, no. This is the Lamborghini that was on Top Gear. And this was the Lamborghini that was in Wolf of Wall Street. And this is the Lamborghini that, was owned and operated and it shot in Fast and Furious and this and that. And here's the whole story of it. It won these races, whatever.
Yeah.
A history of it, right? A lot of automotive fans like history as well.
Yeah, for sure. I hear that. I had a great idea a second ago and I forgot about it.
Interrupt me next time. Yeah. Because I'm fucking brainstorming here.
Yeah, no, it's fun. I lost it. That's okay. Maybe it'll come back to me.
Yeah. You know what else you could do is if you have a large amount of Hot Wheels, like, I don't know, let's say 5,000, right?
Right.
If you have a brand, you could say, hey, I'm selling all 5,000 of my Hot Wheels, right? Every single one of my Hot Wheels is going to be delivered to you in a custom box with a number on it. And at the end, I'm going to do a lottery, pull a number out of the hat, and the winning number gets, this special Hot Wheel or a fucking real car or something like that. And then you could partner with a dealership and whatever to promote their brand. The Hot Wheels raffle brought to you by Mazda of Melbourne. And, if you win the raffle, then you get this like brand new Mazda Miata or 50% off a car in their used lot or something like that. You could partner with a company. You could partner with a company where you don't have to spend any money. They're essentially giving away a car on an advertisement spend, right?
Yeah.
So that's increasing the value without money out of my pocket, but it would come out of the sponsor's pocket.
That's a cool idea too. I dig that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all fun stuff. I wanted to try this exercise.
Or you could even partner with like Extreme Experience and you can say, hey dude, this car is special because if you buy this car, you can race the real one around a track at Sebring in 6 months. They're having an Extreme Experience day and they're going to give you the whole run around in that car. We're going to film it, stuff like that.
I remember my idea. There's this guy on Instagram who takes Hot Wheels of your car or a similar car, and he'll take your key and he'll make the Hot Wheels and combine the key into it so that out of the front of the Hot Wheels, your car key comes out.
That's fucking awesome.
Right? So that's a way to take a $5 product and take a key that already exists and then combine the two and create something that's worth $50 or more.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
It's the same product. You're just slightly changing your process on how you're making it. Pretty simple though. And, completely changing the value.
Yeah, and customizing it to be exactly what you want.
Yep.
You could also say, hey, message me a picture of your car and I will deliver to you your car in Hot Wheels, right? So like you can get an image from someone and if they've got, a 97 Miata with a dent in the back, you can get a 97 Miata Hot Wheels and tap a little dent in the back and make it look exactly like their car. Yeah. And you could even make a custom card that says, Mike's Miata and then have that exact car. Because at the end of the day, you can customize Hot Wheels and most cars aren't customized. Most fucking Nissan 350Z owners just want a Hot Wheels of their car to put on their dashboard because it's cool. Right. And they've got a bone stock 350. But you're marketing it as this is custom special to you. You're just slapping their name on the card. But people like that personalization. Yeah. And that you could sell for 10x.
100%.
Dude, would you not pay 10x for a model of your Miata with Sander 40 written on the side?
Oh, definitely. For sure. I've looked at them before.
Fucking there you go. You haven't. You haven't looked at them before. Yeah. You've only looked at 97 white Miatas with the beige soft top. You haven't looked at them with dents in the back, with the side, with the fucking number on the side, and it's like lowered a little bit or whatever. Like the nuance and the detail. It doesn't come with a special card that says Sander Sorok 40 Mazda Miata 1997, and on the back it's all the specs of the modifications you've done to it because you communicated with the person in the Facebook chat who was going to make this card.
Yeah.
Like, that's a fun way to do it too.
Yeah,
right.
super
And that takes sweat equity and like a little bit of money
Right.
to print the card and whatever.
Right.
But,
If you could have a market though, you could hire help.
dude, 100%.
Yeah.
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 And like the question didn't say whether or not we were going to scale this or whatever.
Right.
Like, yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, I wanted to try this brainstorming exercise. I thought it'd be fun.
Mm-hmm.
Let us know if you guys enjoy it,
Dude,
if you like it.
take away from this exercise in your day-to-day life, just take an activity or take a product and think to yourself while you're driving home, like, how would I turn that into a business? Kiyosaki mentioned this in Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He said that Rich Dad would come to Mike and Robert and say, hey, here's the profit and loss statement for this business, right? Make it better. Or, hey, come up with an idea for a business and write a profit and loss statement for it and see if it's profitable and figure out how to fix it. And something that I took from that book was on the day-to-day, just try and figure out how to build a business around something. So like we went to the Daytona 24 on vacation. And while we were there, we came up with all these fucking ideas to start businesses that would make money at the Daytona 24.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. I want to try and implement some of those next year. I think
I'm glad they will. That's why I didn't mention them, because I want people to steal ideas. But like if you're out and about and constantly thinking about different ways that you could like make a structure and make a system around it and sell it to people,
you'll
then
get better and better at it.
You'll get better at it. And then when you find the golden product, because you can't sell a shit product, you can't, right?
Right.
You can stack value and value and value on a product, but it's just lipstick on a pig. It's going to suck, right?
Yeah.
You have to have a good product and then add value on it. So the Hot Wheels, I would argue, is not like, this is not the $1 billion product for us, right? But if we can create this brainstorming activity around it and get good at selling Hot Wheels, then when we do find our $1 million, $1 billion idea, fucking real estate or whatever it is, right? Then we'll have sharpened the knife of creating a business around a product and we'll fucking crush it.
100%. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was a lot of fun. I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
That is my last quote.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a couple things or whatever you want to wrap us up with.
I have one more, and it's a
cool.
fucking downer.
Cool. Here we go.
If you die tonight, who do you think would stand at your grave the longest?
Ooh.
I thought about this one for a while.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Because it's a reflection not on who you care about, but on who you think cares about you. And of the people that stand there the longest, how long would they stay there? Would they come back? Would they visit you?
Yeah.
How often? Who will remember you?
Yeah. Well, to me, actually, the question is different from, it's not quite, I don't see it as who cares about you the most. I see it as who wouldn't be able to move on, right? Which I think are different, because there's people that I think care about me a lot. Like, for example, I think you would care about me a lot if I, hit a tree at 120, right?
Yeah,
but I think that you'd go on to carry the business legacy and you'd, pay your respects and then be like, Sander would have wanted me to work. Sander would have wanted me to grind and make this happen.
Right.
So I'm going to go do that, thinking of him, right? But then someone like my Baba wouldn't be able to move on, right? And so I think that someone with that mindset of, I don't know how I'm going to go on, would be there the longest. But I don't think that necessarily correlates to the person who cares about you the most.
That's an interesting perspective.
That's how I think about it.
I hadn't considered that. I've thought a lot about it too. And then I started to think, how long would somebody really stand there for?
Yeah.
Because I'm a contemplative person. And I think that if at any grave of somebody who is of importance to me, I would likely stay a while.
Yeah.
But how long? Because if I would stay there for 3 hours, I mean, I've been to funerals before and people clear out after 40 minutes.
Right.
Right. And a lot of people never go back. I haven't visited my grandfather's grave since we buried him, or my grandmother's, right? And I loved both of them.
Right.
And you could argue that you don't have the money or the means, but at the end of the day, you do what you want to do. And
You're right.
Clearly it's not a priority to me right now, right? But, if that person who pulled out in front of you fucking killed you a week and a half ago, I would be at your grave like every day.
Yeah.
And so it's reflective on, like, it really reminds me that you have an impact on other people's lives, whether you want it or not, or whether it's positive or negative.
Yeah.
And it makes it so crystal clear to me. Hormozy talks a lot about how people aren't going to remember you after you die, so why do you care? And I would challenge that to say, if people don't remember you after you die, you're not making a positive enough impact on the world.
Yeah. And my other thing with that too is that I heard a Tristan Tate quote this week that was just along that topic. And his analogy was, he's a billionaire. He's sitting at the front of the movie theater, and the movie theater is playing the movie of life. And he's sitting at the front of the movie theater. He's got his girlfriend with him. He's got great food and drinks in front of him. He's enjoying. He's got the big screen in front of him. And then there's the people in the back who are complaining that they're not in the front, that they're barely able to see the screen. They can't really hear it. There are people chit-chatting around them. They have no one to hang out with, and they're in the back. And the person in the back yells up to the front, and he's like, why do you care that you're up at the front of the movie theater? It doesn't matter. The movie's going to end regardless. And it's like, what's the point of saying that, right? You can enjoy the movie while it lasts, right? Just because the movie's going to be over one day, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't strive to enjoy the movie while it's there. Right. And so it's, I butt heads with the mentality of, oh, it doesn't matter how far you get in life because we're all going to die anyway. Right. Like I really butt heads with that mentality, because it's like, well, don't you want to enjoy your life while you have it? Like, so what that it's all going to go to shit one day anyway. Yeah. Right. So I totally hear that. I hear that point. That is a good question though that you raised.
Yeah.
I really like that.
That's just from TikTok. Like I just stumbled upon it. It was one of those ones where it was like, do you want to hear something deep? And I was like, I guess. And it hit me with that. And then I closed TikTok and I sat and I thought about it in the car for like 15 minutes. Yeah. And I thought it was super interesting. Yeah, the Hormozy thing on people not caring about you after you die. I've always not shuddered at that, but I've kind of thought like that's very cynical. And like it's easy for you to say that, and then like it's not easy for you to say that. It's a good mechanism for you to like laser in and focus on something that you need to do and like, fade out the noise. But at the end of the day, I don't want to die and have not had an impact on people's lives, right? Even if it's small. Like, dude, a couple weeks ago, I told Jace at the bar with the guy with the drone, I tried to hook him up with my high school rowing team so that he could go out and film to like expand his portfolio. Yeah. And that fell through and the high school team didn't communicate with him. So then I gave him the number at Florida Tech and like they're still processing there. And he came back to me the other day and he was like, hey dude, like they're just not getting back to me. And I was like, okay, I'll sit down with you and like run through your email with you. And so he ran through and it turns out that he sent them a Google invite. And I said, oh, they might have just not opened the link yet. You should respond to them and say, hey, I sent you the link. I'm excited to hear what you think. And he was like, oh, I just don't want to be pushy or rude. And I was like, dude, I know these people. I promise you, they're not going to see you as pushy or rude. You should write that email and say, hey, what do you think? And ask them what you think. Because even if they don't like it, that's important information for you to know. And he was like, oh, dude, that's a great perspective. I really appreciate it. Right. And like, I've only spoken with this guy like maybe half a dozen times. Right. But we're buds. And I think I've made a positive impact on his life. And that's really important to me. Right. Whether or not they go to your funeral and regardless of how long they stand, like when people mention my name, I want them to remember the time that I helped them or the time that I tried to help them, even if it didn't work. And I would hope that people, even if they don't stand at the grave for a long time, do remember. Because if they don't, then that means that I didn't achieve my goals and it didn't achieve my success in life, which is to help people. Yeah. Dude, I saw this video the other day. There's this new thing called, oh, fuck, I can't remember it. Essentially, here's the TLDR. Trust fund kids, Trustafarians, this is what it's called. Trust fund kids, right, have a lot of money, but they want to live like an artsy-fartsy lifestyle. So they live in a van and they don't wear shoes and they get face tattoos and like they wear makeup and go to EDM concerts and they're like of Mother Earth and Gaia and shit, right? Yeah. And the van they sleep in is a $300,000 tricked out Mercedes Sprinter van that their parents bought. And they just want to get off the grid and disconnect from society, but it's fine because they've got dad's black card that can go buy whatever they want, right? And it's very vain. And they'll go to other countries to do volunteer work, right? Wholesome. The issue is that they'll go there and they'll film a bunch of promotional content and it's very self-fulfilling, or not self-fulfilling. I can't think of the word. It's fucking vain, right? Essentially, they're filming this so that other people can see that they're doing volunteer work. And there's even one quote of...
It's selfish, not selfless.
It's selfish, not selfless. And there's this quote from a girl who was in that lifestyle and then eventually like woke up to reality and started to talk about it. And she said, hey, like one time I went to Africa and we were building a library there, right? And so me and the other Trustafarians would like pour concrete and mix it and lay bricks for like 4 hours through the whole day. 4 hours? What? And then they would go to sleep and all of the local workers, the men, would come out and tear down all the bricks and concrete because they poured it wrong and laid it wrong. They had to undo all their work and then redo their work properly so that way when they woke up in the morning, they wouldn't know the difference because it's all about them in their own head. Wow. And she was only told this after the fact when she started to wake up to it, and she talked to one of the workers and she apologized sincerely. And wild. I thought to myself, like, how fucking vain are you that you need other people to see that you're doing good work instead of just doing it? And like,
yeah.
If you can't lay bricks, that's fine. But you have connections to people with money or you have money yourself and you can donate money to those teams of people. Like fucking help the workers eat, help the workers clothe themselves, give them supplies and better tooling so that they can do a better job. Don't do it yourself. Like,
yeah,
that doesn't make any sense to me. Support a cause that needs the support in ways that they can actually use it, not in ways that they're going to have to fucking redo in the middle of the night. And so like my high school rowing coach, through all of my last 2 years of high school, or I guess it was my last year of high school, he really wanted me to come back and coach. And so he would let me ride the launch and coach practices as a rower. And I decided to row in college. And so I would come back and visit. And I ended up coaching for a couple months when I graduated college. And he told me candidly, he was like, I really want you to come coach. I think you'd make a huge impact on the team. And I did. The kids loved me and we worked really well together. But ultimately I decided I think I'm better off working for 5 years and making enough money that I can donate 6 times your salary and like help you afford to live, because the coaching salaries are low. They don't get paid enough. But the reason they don't get paid enough is because the team doesn't have enough money. It's not because like the owners are rude or anything like that. They just don't have the money. But these coaches dedicate their entire days to these kids and this team, and they deserve more. And so ultimately I've decided that the best way I can serve that team is pursue business, step away, make a ton of money, and then come back and give it to them. I'm not going to come back and coach, right? Because these people are like specialized coaches. I don't have to be the best at something. I just need somebody who is the best at something, supporting a cause that I care about. And if I can help fund that to make it happen, that's my goal. That's my personal goal. And if I'm able to do that, then I know that those people will remember me and they will stand at my grave for longer than normal. And even if they don't, they'll think about me on the car ride home and they'll have a moment of reflection and maybe a little bit of gratitude. And that's something that I want. I just want to make people's lives better in ways that I can in the future.
100%. I think that's awesome. I completely agree. That's an amazing note to end on. I really like that.
Good stuff.
Thank you for listening. Tune in. We'll have some short content on TikTok if you'd like, but thank you for watching.
What number was this? 11?
11, yeah.
We're over halfway to the 99% mark.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
We'll do a little something special for the 21st podcast.
Yeah.
So
it sucks to think that we've been doing this for so long. We're only halfway there.
Yeah.
We've been doing it for months now.
I mean, it's fun though. I enjoy it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for listening.